So in our country specifically, we always have the cargo in the interior of our country. We need to create a transport scenario for this cargo to reach a port, right? And for this cargo to be placed at its final destination. You'll remember that every American movie had a railway being built, right? So in those American movies, it was always the construction of a railway from east to west. That's why the United States became this world economic power, because it connected from one ocean to the other much more efficiently, much cheaper, with much more capacity. We've invested since the time of the Baron of Mauá in railways in Brazil, but all of our scenarios were always built with great difficulty and without much planning. But at the end of the day, this came to a halt because there was no defined cargo from locations A to B and to C. So we didn't have that logic. Railway projects were carried out in Brazil simply to interconnect points in our country, but they didn't take the cargo into account. In other words, the railways we have planned in Brazil are almost 100 years old. The concessions that exist today were planned more than 100 years ago, and they lead to scenarios where there are no ports dedicated to that type of cargo. So it doesn't make much sense for me to have a railway that's designed simply for tourism. One thing is tourism, another thing is cargo, which is what pays the bills, what effectively moves the economy. So we have a scenario for our logistics planning, our infrastructure planning, that's mismatched between the high-capacity highways, the railways, which are few, and the high-capacity ports. And so our country became disconnected from its vocation, which was export, especially the export of commodities. We have, for example, railways that reach Santos, our largest Brazilian port. The port of Santos grew, but its growth has stagnated. In addition, there was a change in the sizes of the ships. Ships have doubled in size. So the largest port, the largest ship that enters Santos is about 350, 360 meters in length, right? Which it has to turn in its turning basin. It can't be larger than that. But today we have ships of 430, 440 meters, which don't enter our largest port because there's no way for them to turn inside. We don't have a plan like the one that has existed more recently in the last 30, 40 years with China itself. China, in the last 30, 40 years, has practically built 10 ports, which are the largest in the world. Why? She did a treatment of her integrated logistics. It connected the existing, planned, and new port base with railways to pick up and bring cargo. At the same time, this port base considered ships larger than those that already exist today. That's why Macro idealized and planned, even after having gone through the entire bureaucratic process at Porto Central, which took years to be licensed. Yeah, even so, we planned the missing infrastructure, meaning what was missing for the cargo for us to fill the port. That was the logic. So we thought of an integration project for structural access where the cargo is, mainly starting from the port, going after the cargo, which is why we created the EF352, the Minister Alison Palinelli Railway. It's already authorized, we're already licensing it. So this TEGRAN integration, it makes our vocation much more competitive than the others. We integrated a project where the cargo is, where the TEGRAN is, right? Bringing the cargo directly to the port. We managed to cover a large part of the Brazilian commodities cargo within this scenario with the port capacity. That was the initial plan, and we're developing it right now, going through the licensing process for the Minister Alison Palinelli Railway.